First Contact Fallout. The grand observatory of the celestial spire on Arcos Prime hummed with activity as technicians and scientists monitored countless screens. Supreme Commander Vexus of the United Galactic Alliance stood with his 4 arms crossed behind his back, all 6 of his emerald eyes fixed on the main display. His exoskeleton, typically a vibrant blue, had paled considerably over the past 20 hours. Unidentified vessel still on approach, Commander, reported Chief Analyst Thillara, her translucent fingers dancing over holographic controls. No response to any of our standard greeting protocols. How long until it reaches the Helios checkpoint? Vexus asked, his mandibles clicking with concern. Approximately 8 standard hours, sir, Thillara replied. Our sensors are having difficulty penetrating its hull. The material appears to absorb our scanning frequencies. The Alliance had ruled the 5 arms of the galaxy for over 15,000 cycles. 27 species comprised its council, each bringing unique abilities and technologies. They had encountered and peacefully integrated 62 intelligent species during their expansion. But this was unprecedented. Has the Council been notified? Vexus asked. Yes, Commander. They've called an emergency session. Vexus nodded, his secondary eyes blinking in sequence. Maintain distance and continue hailing. I want continuous scans. If that vessel so much as adjusts its trajectory by a micron, alert me immediately. Across the galaxy, the Grand Council chamber on the capital world of Nexus Eternum buzzed with urgent conversations. Representatives of the Alliance member species gathered in the vast amphitheater, their voices creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and modulated tones. High Chancellor Orana, the eldest of the Lumari, hovered above her designated platform. Her body, composed of crystalline energy that shifted between purple and gold, pulsed with concern. Silence, she commanded, her voice resonating through the chamber. We face an unprecedented situation. An unknown vessel of significant size and power has entered Alliance space without authorization or identification. The chamber fell silent as a holographic projection appeared in the center of the room. The unknown ship was unlike anything in Alliance records. Its hull was a deep matte black that seemed to absorb light. The design was angular and aggressive with strange geometric protrusions along its flanks. It was massive, nearly 4 kilometers in length. Is this a first contact scenario? Asked Representative Kalos of the Murtari, his tentacles rippling anxiously. Our database contains genetic and technological profiles of every species we've encountered, replied Director Zen of Alliance Intelligence, a Saurian whose scales shifted color with each word. This vessel matches nothing in our records. Then we must prepare for conflict, declared the Voldorian representative, pounding a muscular fist on his platform. Any species that approaches with a vessel of that size clearly has hostile intentions. Orana's form pulsed with disagreement. For 15,000 cycles, the Alliance has maintained peace through diplomacy when possible. We will attempt communication before assuming hostilities. After hours of debate, the Council reached consensus. They would prepare for conflict while attempting peaceful contact. A delegation would meet the newcomers while Alliance forces mobilized discreetly. Back at the Helios checkpoint, Commander Vexus received the Council's orders. He was to lead the first contact team personally. Commander, called the sensor officer urgently. The vessel is dropping out of FTL. The command center fell silent as all eyes turned to the main view screen. Space itself seemed to bend around the unknown ship as it decelerated into normal space. For the first time, they could see it clearly. The vessel's design defied conventional naval architecture. Its angular hull featured no visible weapons, yet every instinct in Vexus's body told him this was a warship. Magnify, he ordered. The view screen zoomed in on what appeared to be the command section. Strange symbols became visible along the hull. T.R.A. Van Juard. Commander, we're receiving a transmission, announced Thillara, surprise evident in her voice. On screen, ordered Vexus, straightening his posture. The view screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The being looked surprisingly similar to several Alliance species, with a central head, two forward-facing eyes, and a mouth. But subtle differences were immediately apparent. This species had strange coverings of various textures on their heads, and their skin tones varied in ways that suggested natural evolution rather than genetic engineering. "This is Captain Maya Chen of the Terran Defense Force vessel Vanguard." The alien spoke in perfect universal standard, shocking everyone in the command center. "We come seeking diplomatic contact with your governing body." Commander Vexus felt his heart racing. How did they know the Alliance language? How long had they been observing? "I am Supreme Commander Vexus of the United Galactic Alliance," he replied, maintaining his composure. "Your arrival is unexpected. How do you come to speak our language?" The alien, this human, curved its mouth upward in what Vexus's synapsychology training suggested was a non-threatening expression. "We've been monitoring your communications for some time, Commander," Captain Chen replied. "We wanted to learn your language before initiating contact to avoid misunderstandings." The implication was clear. These humans had been watching, learning, and analyzing the Alliance without detection. The thought sent a wave of unease through Vexus's neural pathways. "On behalf of the Alliance Council, I welcome you to our territory," he managed to reply. "However, I must inform you that approaching our borders in a vessel of your configuration without prior notification is considered a potentially hostile act." Captain Chen's expression shifted subtly. "We apologize for any alarm we may have caused. The Vanguard is primarily an exploratory vessel with defensive capabilities appropriate for venturing into unknown space. We come seeking knowledge and potential allies, not conflict." "Yet you approach in what is clearly a warship," Vexus countered. "Where we come from, Commander, the distinction between exploration and defense is often blurred by necessity," Chen responded. "The universe is vast and not always friendly. We prefer to be prepared." A message from Nexus Eternum arrived. The Council had authorized Vexus to invite a small delegation from the human vessel to formal discussions aboard the diplomatic station orbiting Helios IV. "Captain Chen, the Alliance Council extends an invitation for you and a small delegation to join us for diplomatic discussions. We are transmitting coordinates for a neutral meeting facility." The human nodded. "We accept your invitation. Transmit the protocols, and we will comply." As the transmission ended, Thalura approached the commander. "Sir, our detailed scans still cannot penetrate much of their hull, but what we've learned is concerning." "Explain," Vexus ordered. "Their propulsion system operates on principles our physicists cannot fully comprehend. The energy readings suggest capabilities far beyond what their apparent technological level should allow. And there are spaces within their ship that appear empty yet are completely shielded from our scans." Vexus turned back to the view screen where the Vanguard loomed against the starfield, dark and imposing. "They're hiding something," he murmured. "Alert all commands to maintain defensive posture, but take no aggressive action." And he added after a moment's hesitation, "Begin evacuation preparations for civilian facilities in this sector, quietly." 6 hours later, a sleek shuttle departed from the Vanguard carrying the human delegation. As Commander Vexus prepared to meet them, he received a private communication from Director Zen. "Commander, our analysts have been working on the limited data we have about these humans." Zen's voice came through, his concern evident. "Their physiological readings are extraordinary. They appear to have evolved on a high-gravity world with extreme climate variations. Their cellular structure suggests remarkable radiation resistance and immune response capabilities. In short, they are physically adapted to conditions that would kill most Alliance species." "Are they a threat?" Vexus asked directly. There was a pause before Zen responded. "Any species that can build a ship like the Vanguard and approach undetected through our sensor networks is a potential threat. But there's something else. Something in their genetic structure suggests they may be related to." The precursors. Vexus felt his heart skip simultaneously. The precursors, the mysterious civilization whose ruins and technologies had helped the Alliance advance millennia ahead of where they would otherwise be. I understand, Vexus replied. I will proceed with caution. As the human shuttle docked at the diplomatic station, representatives from 15 Alliance species prepared to meet these newcomers. No one spoke of it openly, but each representative carried the same thought. For the first time in 15,000 cycles, the United Galactic Alliance felt afraid. The diplomatic chamber aboard Station Helios was designed to accommodate all known species in the Alliance. Its adaptive environment could shift temperature, gravity, and atmospheric composition in localized fields around each delegation. 5 humans entered, led by Captain Maya Chen. They wore sleek dark uniforms with minimal insignia, a stark contrast to the elaborate ceremonial attire of most Alliance representatives. The humans moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost predatory to the watching aliens. High Chancellor Orana initiated the proceedings, her crystalline form pulsing with formal patterns of welcome. On behalf of the 27 species of the United Galactic Alliance, I extend greetings to the representatives of humanity. We are curious about your people and your sudden appearance in our space. Captain Chen stepped forward. Thank you for your welcome, High Chancellor. Earth and humanity are honored to make contact with your civilization. One of the humans, a tall man with silver at his temples, stepped forward with a small device which he placed on the central table. It projected a holographic image of a blue-green world orbiting a yellow star. This is Earth, our home world, Chen continued. We evolved there approximately 300,000 years ago. Our civilization achieved spaceflight just over 400 years ago, and we have been exploring our stellar neighborhood since then. The Merteri representative clicked his mandibles skeptically. Your vessel employs technologies that suggest a much higher development level than a mere 4 centuries of spaceflight would allow. Humans advance quickly, Chen replied with a smile, especially when necessary. And what necessity drove this advancement? Asked Commander Vexus, who had been observing silently until now. Captain Chen hesitated, exchanging glances with her delegation before responding. Approximately 250 years ago, we detected evidence of non-human intelligence in our galaxy. The signals were faint but unmistakable. They appeared to be communications between starships. Your starships, we now believe. Murmurs spread through the Alliance representatives. Their communications were supposed to be undetectable at such distances. Our history has taught us caution, Chen continued. When a more advanced civilization discovers a less advanced one, the outcome is rarely favorable for the latter. We accelerated our technological development as a precautionary measure. You built warships because you feared us? Asked Orana, her crystalline form flickering with concern. We built ships capable of defending Earth because we didn't know you, corrected Chen. The Vanguard is primarily an exploration vessel with defensive capabilities. The Voldorian representative snorted, a sound that translated as disbelief across multiple species. Your exploration vessel has energy signatures that suggest weapon capabilities exceeding our most advanced battle cruisers. Captain Chen smiled again, but this time there was no warmth in the expression. As I said, we believe in being prepared. The tension in the chamber increased palpably. Director Zen leaned forward. Our scans detected unusual gaps in your vessel's interior. Areas that appear empty yet are heavily shielded from external observation. Perhaps you could explain these curiosities. Privacy is valued in human culture, Chen replied smoothly. Not everything is meant for external scanning. Before the interrogation could continue, the silver-haired human stepped forward again. If I may, he said, I believe a demonstration might help establish trust between our peoples. This is Dr. Eli Novak, our chief scientist. Chen introduced him. Dr. Novak activated the device again, but this time the hologram changed to display what appeared to be a 3-dimensional equation set, one that made several of the scientifically inclined representatives lean forward in sudden interest. This is a simplified model of our FTL drive's operating principles, Novak explained. We call it the Alcubierre-Krasnikov warp. It creates a localized distortion in space-time that allows us to travel distances that would otherwise take decades or centuries. The Lumari scientist present, a junior member of Arana's species, flashed with patterns of astonishment. This is impossible. You're describing practical manipulation of negative energy states. Not impossible, Novak corrected gently. Just difficult. We discovered the theoretical framework 250 years ago. It took us nearly a century to develop the practical technology. The revelation stunned the Alliance representatives into silence. Their own FTL technology, based on principles discovered in precursor ruins, was effective but crude by comparison. If the humans were telling the truth, their method was orders of magnitude more efficient and elegant. Commander Vexus's tactical mind immediately grasped the strategic implications. A fleet using such technology could appear anywhere in Alliance space with minimal warning. The defensive networks that had protected them for millennia were suddenly obsolete. "Why share this with us?" he asked, his voice carefully controlled. Chen took over again, as a gesture of good faith. "We come seeking allies and trading partners, not conquests. Earth is one world. Impressive by our standards, but nothing compared to your hundreds. We have no interest in challenging the Alliance's authority in this region of space." The diplomatic discussions continued for hours, with the humans sharing carefully selected information about their civilization, while deflecting more probing questions about their military capabilities and true intentions. As the meeting progressed, a subtle shift occurred among the Alliance representatives, from dismissive superiority to cautious respect. Then, without warning, emergency alarms blared throughout the station. "Attention all personnel," announced the station's eye. "Sensors have detected a quantum disturbance approaching at superluminal velocities. Configuration matches historical records of void harvester vessels." The effect on the Alliance representatives was immediate and dramatic. Several species known for their stoicism showed visible signs of panic. The Voldorian representative, earlier so bellicose, now appeared ashen. "Impossible," whispered Arana. "The harvesters have not been seen in this sector for 9,000 cycles." Captain Chen looked sharply at her team, then back to the Alliance representatives. "What are these void harvesters?" It was Commander Vexus who answered, his professional composure barely masking his fear. "A species from beyond the galactic rim. They appeared briefly millennia ago, destroyed dozens of worlds, then vanished as suddenly as they came. Our historians believe they were only scouts for a larger force. And now they're back," Chen stated flatly. The station's AI continued its emotionless report. "Void harvester vessel will emerge from superluminal travel in approximately 18 minutes. Estimated size: 25 kilometers. Weapons signatures detected powering up." The diplomatic chamber erupted in chaos as representatives called their governments and military commands. The first part of humanity's introduction to galactic society was over. The real test was about to begin. Battle beyond the stars. The diplomatic chamber of Station Helios descended into controlled chaos. Alliance representatives frantically contacted their respective governments, while military officers barked orders into communication devices. Through it all, Captain Maya Chen and her human delegation remained eerily calm. "Commander Vexus," Chen's voice cut through the noise. "What are your defensive capabilities against these harvesters?" Vexus turned to her, his mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. "We have 3 battle cruisers in the Helios system. They are formidable by Alliance standards, but against a harvester vessel." He left the sentence unfinished. "You've faced them before," Dr. Novak observed. "What worked?" Director Zen approached, his scales now a deep blue of concern. "Nothing worked. 9,000 cycles ago, they destroyed 17 worlds before disappearing. Our records indicate they simply left. Perhaps they found our worlds lacking in whatever resources they harvest." Captain Chen nodded briskly, her decision already made. Commander Vexus, I'm offering the assistance of the Vanguard. With your permission, we'll coordinate with your battle cruisers. Vexus hesitated only briefly. The Council would need to authorize. In 12 minutes, Chen interrupted. A hostile vessel 25 kilometers in length will arrive in this system. By your own admission, your forces are inadequate. Do you want our help or not? High Chancellor Orana's crystalline form pulsed with decision patterns. We accept your offer, Captain Chen. Commander Vexus has full authority to coordinate our defense. Chen nodded and tapped a small device on her wrist. Chen to Vanguard. Captain Rice, execute Protocol Aegis. We have a Class 1 hostile inbound. She looked at Vexus. I need direct communication with your battle cruiser commanders immediately. As the Alliance officers established the communication links, the humans huddled briefly. They spoke in hushed tones, occasionally glancing at the station's main tactical display. Their body language changed subtly, becoming more focused, more predatory. Station Helios, this is Captain Rice of the Vanguard. A new voice announced over the comms. We're detecting the hostile emergence point. Moving to intercept. Please advise Alliance vessels to take position at these coordinates. A series of spatial coordinates appeared on the tactical display. Commander Vexus studied the suggested formation with growing confusion. These positions, they leave the Vanguard isolated directly in the Harvester's path. Your vessel will be destroyed before our cruisers can provide support. Captain Chen's expression remained unchanged. Trust us, Commander. Your vessels need to be at those exact coordinates when the engagement begins. Before Vexus could argue further, the station's AI announced, Void Harvester vessel emerging from superluminal travel in 3 minutes. There's no time, Chen pressed. Order your ships to those positions now. With great reluctance, Vexus issued the orders. The Alliance battle cruisers, sleek vessels nearly 1 kilometer long each, maneuvered into the positions specified by the humans. The tactical display showed the Vanguard alone in the direct approach vector of the Harvester vessel. 2 minutes to Harvester emergence, the AI updated. Captain Chen. Director Zen addressed her directly. Our analysis suggests your vessel cannot possibly withstand the initial attack from a Harvester. What are you planning? Chen exchanged glances with her team before responding. We're about to show you why humans believe the best defense is a good offense. 30 seconds to emergence, the AI announced. The main view screen showed the void of space ahead of the Vanguard. Suddenly, space itself seemed to tear open. A massive vessel, dwarfing even the station, emerged from the rift. It resembled nothing so much as a massive obsidian blade, its surface rippling with strange energies that hurt the eyes to look upon directly. Sensors detect energy buildup in the Harvester vessel, reported the station's tactical officer. They're charging weapons. On the screen, the Vanguard remained motionless, seemingly insignificant before the colossal threat. Then, without warning, the human vessel changed. Sections of the hull that had appeared solid began to separate and unfold. What had seemed like decorative protrusions revealed themselves as concealed weapon systems of startling complexity. The vessel's silhouette transformed from a sleek exploration ship to something altogether more threatening. By the ancestors, whispered Vexus. What is that? That, replied Chen with quiet pride, is a Terran directive warship in combat configuration. The Vanguard's transformation completed in seconds. Where there had been one vessel, there now appeared to be multiple interconnected platforms, creating a web of offensive and defensive systems. Harvester vessel firing, called the tactical officer. A beam of coruscating energy lanced out from the alien behemoth, directly toward the Vanguard. The human ship didn't attempt to evade. Instead, a shimmering field appeared around it. When the Harvester's weapon struck, the energy seemed to flow around the Vanguard like water around a stone. Deflection shields holding, reported Captain Rice over the comms, initiating countermeasures. Alliance vessels, stand by to attack targets stern on my mark. What happened next left the Alliance representatives in stunned silence. The Vanguard's weapons, arrays that had been completely hidden during the diplomatic meeting, opened fire, not with conventional energy weapons, but with dozens of small, fast-moving projectiles that accelerated toward the harvester vessel. Kinetic penetrators away, Rise announced calmly. Impact in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The projectiles struck the harvester ship simultaneously at precise points along its hull. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, explosions bloomed across the massive vessel's surface. First strike successful, Rise reported. Shield harmonics identified. Switching to phase disruptors. Alliance vessels, prepare to fire on my mark using these frequency settings. Data streamed to the Alliance battle cruisers, containing weapons configurations they had never seen before. What are these? Vexus asked, studying the information. Calibrations that will allow your conventional weapons to penetrate their shields, Dr. Novik explained. The Harvester's defenses operate on a quantum frequency shift. Our penetrators just force them into a predictable pattern. The Vanguard fired again, this time with beams of coherent energy that struck precisely where the earlier explosions had weakened the Harvester's hull. The massive ship shuddered visibly. Alliance vessels, fire, Rice commanded. The 3 battle cruisers, positioned exactly where the humans had specified, unleashed their weapons simultaneously. Their energy beams, normally ineffective against advanced shields, sliced through the Harvester's weakened defenses at precisely the right moment. Their propulsion is damaged, reported the tactical officer, disbelief evident in his voice. The Harvester vessel is attempting to retreat. On the screen, the massive alien ship began to turn ponderously away from the battle, still firing sporadically at the Vanguard. The human vessel pursued relentlessly, its weapons configurations shifting as it maintained pressure on the wounded giant. They're attempting to open a rift for escape, Rise warned, deploying gravity anchors. From the Vanguard, several small devices launched toward the Harvester, attaching to its hull. The space around the massive ship seemed to distort. Gravity anchors active, Rise confirmed. They're trapped in normal space. All vessels, concentrate fire on these coordinates. The Vanguard and the Alliance cruisers bombarded the designated points on the Harvester's hull. Under the combined assault, the alien vessel's structure began to buckle. Energy surge detected. The tactical officer shouted. The Harvester is overloading its power core. All vessels, maximum distance, Chen ordered. They're going to self-destruct. The Vanguard and Alliance ships accelerated away from the stricken Harvester. On the view screen, the massive alien vessel shuddered one final time before erupting in a blinding explosion that momentarily overloaded the station's sensors. When the screen cleared, only debris remained where the Harvester had been. The Vanguard was already reconfiguring itself, weapons systems folding back into concealment as it resumed its previous appearance. The diplomatic chamber was utterly silent. The Alliance representatives stared at the humans with new eyes, not with fear exactly, but with a dawning comprehension that they were in the presence of something unprecedented. The threat has been neutralized, Captain Chen stated simply, as if they hadn't just accomplished what the entire Alliance had failed to do for millennia. Commander Vexus, I suggest we establish a permanent sensor network in this region. This Harvester may have been a scout, like the ones your people encountered before. Vexus found his voice with difficulty. Yes, that would be prudent. High Chancellor Orana's crystalline form pulsed with complex patterns that the translator couldn't fully interpret. When she spoke, her tone conveyed both gratitude and apprehension. Captain Chen, on behalf of the Alliance, I extend our deepest thanks for your intervention. You have saved countless lives today. She paused, her form shifting to a deeper hue. However, I must ask, why did you conceal your vessel's true nature from us? Chen's expression remained neutral. Chancellor, imagine if our situations were reversed. If an unknown vessel appeared at Earth's borders with weapons capabilities exceeding anything in our arsenal, how do you think we would react? You feared we would attack preemptively. Director Zen concluded, his scales now a thoughtful green. It was a possibility we couldn't dismiss, Chen acknowledged. Our policy is to reveal our capabilities only when necessary. Today it became necessary. The Voldorian representative, earlier so hostile, now leaned forward with newfound respect. The Harvesters have terrorized our histories for millennia. You destroyed one in minutes. How? Dr. Novak answered, his tone professorial. We've encountered similar entities in our explorations. They rely on technological intimidation, overwhelming force against species unprepared to counter their specific advantages. Once you understand the principles behind our shields and weapons, they become vulnerable like any other vessel. You've fought these beings before, asked Vexus. Not these specifically, Chen clarified, but others like them. The universe is vast and not always friendly, as I mentioned earlier. Humanity has had to adapt. And now, asked Arana, what do you seek from the Alliance? Captain Chen glanced at her team before responding. The same thing we sought when we arrived, peaceful cooperation and mutual benefit. But now we have a common enemy to consider. The Harvesters will return, likely in greater numbers. We can help you prepare. The diplomatic discussions resumed, but with a fundamentally altered dynamic. The Alliance representatives no longer viewed the humans as potential threats to be managed, but as powerful allies against a greater danger. Technical teams from both sides began sharing information about the Harvesters, analyzing the battle data and developing defensive strategies. 3 days later, in the Grand Council chamber on Nexus Eternum, the Alliance leadership convened to formalize their relationship with humanity. Captain Chen stood before the assembled representatives of 27 species, her posture confident but respectful. The United Earth Confederation extends its hand in friendship to the Galactic Alliance, she announced. We propose a mutual defense treaty against the Harvester threat, as well as scientific and cultural exchange programs between our peoples. High Chancellor Arana responded with formal acceptance patterns glowing through her crystalline form. The Alliance welcomes Earth and humanity as honored allies. Together, we will face whatever challenges the galaxy presents. As the formalities concluded, Commander Vexus approached Captain Chen privately. There's something I've been wondering, he said, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. You could have remained hidden from us, observing from a distance. Why reveal yourselves now? Chen considered her response carefully. You've studied our language, Commander, but have you encountered our literature? There's an ancient human saying, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." We detected the Harvesters' approach months ago. Their trajectory would take them through Alliance space first, then to Earth. We had a choice: wait behind our borders and face them alone later, or meet them here, together with potential allies. So your arrival was timed deliberately, Vexus realized. You knew the Harvester was coming. We suspected, Chen corrected. Our long-range sensors detected quantum disturbances consistent with their propulsion signatures. We hoped to establish diplomatic relations before they arrived, but they moved faster than we anticipated. And the Vanguard? Is it truly your most advanced vessel? Captain Chen smiled enigmatically. The Vanguard is a diplomatic escort-class vessel, Commander. It's designed for first contact scenarios where the potential for conflict exists. It's formidable, yes, but not exceptional by our standards. Vexus's secondary eyes blinked in sequence as he processed this information. You mean to say, Earth's defensive fleet includes vessels with significantly greater capabilities, Chen confirmed, something we hope will provide additional comfort to our new allies. As the Alliance and human delegations continued their discussions, news of the battle spread throughout Alliance space. For the first time in 15,000 cycles, the galaxy's status quo had changed fundamentally. The Alliance was no longer the unchallenged power in the region, but perhaps more importantly, they were no longer alone against the ancient terror of the Harvesters. In the coming months, human vessels would arrive at key Alliance worlds, bringing technologies, knowledge, and military expertise. Alliance representatives would journey to Earth, marveling at the adaptability and diversity of the human civilization. Joint scientific expeditions would venture into unexplored regions, and combined military exercises would prepare for the inevitable return of the harvesters. The political dynamics of the Five Arms would shift and realign around this new partnership between ancient civilization and emerging power. Some alliance members welcomed the humans enthusiastically, while others remained wary of their martial capabilities. But none could deny the new reality. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and the universe would never be the same. Captain Chen stood on the observation deck of Station Helios, watching as the Vanguard prepared to depart for its next mission. Commander Vexus joined her, his posture now relaxed in her presence. "Your vessel leaves so soon?" he asked. "The Vanguard has completed its primary mission," Chen replied. "First contact established, diplomatic relations secured, mutual threats identified and engaged. Our work here is done. And where does it go now?" Chen turned to him, her expression serious but hopeful. "There are other civilizations beyond Alliance space, Commander. Other potential friends, and other potential threats. The galaxy is entering a new age, and humanity intends to help shape it. For what it's worth," Vexus said after a moment, "I'm glad it was your species that found us first." Chen smiled. "So are we, Commander. So are we." As the Vanguard departed Helios, reconfiguring briefly to its combat form in a gesture that Alliance observers recognized as a salute, a new chapter in galactic history began. Humanity had stepped onto the cosmic stage, not as conquerors, but as protectors, bringing with them the unique blend of innovation, adaptability, and determination that had allowed a single species from a solitary world to stand equal with an alliance of dozens. The message would spread outward with the speed of thought. Beware the humans, not for their aggression, but for their relentless defense of those they call allies. They were the newcomers, the upstarts, the unexpected variable in the grand equation of galactic politics. They were humanity, and they had arrived.